Okay. Good morning, all. Am I audible? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Gaurav. So in the last class, I have just discussed about the limit of a function of complex variable. So before discussing the limit of a function of complex variable, just I have discussed what is the significance of limit, why do we find the limit, and actually what is the significance for function of one real variable and function of two real variable. In last class I have also told that we will be using the properties of function, the limit for function of two variable here, while we are going to find out the limit for function of complex variable, because while we are defining the function of complex variable, here also there are two independent variables, like the function of two real variables. So we'll be using that property here to study the limit for function of complex variable. Okay. So let me share my screen first. So can you see the screen? Is it visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So I've discussed the epsilon delta definition. Epsilon delta definition means we are actually providing an interval corresponding to the independent variable, and for that from that interval we are choosing different values of independent variable apart from the value where the function is not defined, and we will be verifying what will be the functional value if I vary the independent variable in that interval, and if we can provide certain interval for the dependent variable where the values of the dependent variable lies, and this interval corresponding to the dependent variable and independent variable are comparable, then only we can say that the limit exists, otherwise the limit doesn't exist. So here the function fz is said to tend to a limit w0 whenever j tends to z0, if fz minus w0 is less than epsilon whenever z minus z0 less than delta. Okay. So just before discussing, I think you will not, it is not possible for you to visualize from here. So just let me share the blank screen and let me write it. Can you see the screen? Blank screen?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, okay. Now can you see the blank screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So just I'm reiterating whatever I have told in the last class. Then we'll be comparing this. Say for function of one variable, say y equals to fx. What I have told, say this is the function, let's say graph of the function. At this point x equals to x0, the limit doesn't exist. Then we are taking interval around x equals to x0. Say this length is delta. So this will be x minus x0 minus plus delta, and this will be x0 minus delta. Now we'll be varying the value of independent variable inside that interval. Then we'll be trying to find out what are the approximated value of the function while we are varying the values of the independent variable from that interval. Then let's say this value is L. That means this functional value is actually, let's say, L. Now, whenever we are varying the value from here, then we are finding that the values is lying in an interval of epsilon here, epsilon. So this will be L minus epsilon. And whenever we are varying the values that is greater than x0, we are finding that the values are lying in that interval. So L plus epsilon. So that implies these are the functional values fx. Say this is x1. So for that functional value will be fx1, like that. So whenever we are varying the value of the independent variable in the interval delta, sorry. So whenever we are varying the value of the independent variable in the interval delta, then if this implies that the functional value fx minus the difference of the limiting value, these are all functional values and this is the limiting value. If this is less than epsilon and delta and epsilon are comparable, then we can say that limit x tends to x0 fx equals to L. Is that clear or not? I have told this in the previous class whenever I have given the example x square minus 4y minus 2 limit y exists, and for 1 by x y limit doesn't exist. I have told this. So is that clear or not? Is that clear? Do you have any doubt or not? Just tell me. The last class I have discussed this. If you have any doubt, you could ask me. Please respond whether you have understood this or not.
So that limiting part, can you repeat once more in brief?
This one, okay. The last class, what I have told, say for example, x square minus 4 by x minus 2. Then say the limit we need to find at 2. So what we are doing, we are taking interval, say 2.001, and let's say here minus 2.001. We are taking this interval, and we are varying the value of independent variable from the interval. And we are finding that, let's say the limiting value, the functional values, whenever we are varying the values of x inside the interval, this will be, let's say this is 0.0001 to 4 minus 0.0001, this one. So since we are varying the value of the independent variable from the interval, and values of the dependent variable are varying around 4 in a small interval, so these values are actually fx. So inside the interval we will be getting the values of fx, and inside that interval we are taking the values of x. So here what is the length delta? Delta is here 0.001. And what is epsilon here? Epsilon is 0.0001. So here epsilon equals to delta by 10. So they are comparable and both are small. So that's why we say that here limit exists and equals to 4. Is that clear or not?
Yes, sir.
So same thing we are defining here. That means whenever we are varying the independent variable in a small interval around x0, this is a generalized definition. And if the functional values minus the difference of limiting value are also varying in a small interval and both are comparable, then we can say that the limit exists. But for 1 by x, what happens? We are taking the values of independent variable x around the interval 0. That means 0.0001, let's say, and 0.001. Then we are finding that the values of the functional values, while we are varying the independent variable here, lies in a huge interval from minus infinity to plus infinity. So here we can't actually say what will be the approximated value of the function while we are varying the independent variable here. So in that case, limit doesn't exist. Okay. As here, delta is very small, but epsilon is very huge. So they are not comparable. So that's why the limit doesn't exist in that case. Is that clear or not?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is the generalization. Is it clear to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now here also we'll be doing the same thing. That means limit z tends to z0 if z, let's say the limiting value is w0. So here z dash, z is x plus iy. So z0 will be x0 plus iy0, and w0 will be u0 plus iv0. So since here both z and w are function of two variables, so here we can write it in the form x0 comma y0. fz means actually w, that is actually u plus iv. So that is u comma v equals to u0 v0. Then we say that limit exists. So what will be a definition? The same thing we can apply over here. So we can write down here that whenever z minus z0 less than delta, then if that implies that fz minus w0 less than epsilon and delta and epsilon are comparable, then we say that the limit exists. The same kind of definition we are adopting here. Okay. Is that clear or not?
Yes, sir.
But for the function of one variable, x minus x0 less than delta, this represents actually interval. But here what it will represent? It will represent actually a circle of radius delta inside of the circle of radius delta and point x0 y0. Is that clear or not? So here we are taking two planes. One is a z plane, because we can't incorporate all those four variables in one graph. And this is say w plane. So this is x-axis, this is y-axis, and this is u-axis, this is v-axis. So the radius of this circle is actually delta, and the center is at x0 y0. You know that because this will in general represent that inside of a circle, the square root of x minus x0 whole square plus y minus y0 whole square less than delta. So say this is point x0 y0, and this will be a circle. So this coordinate is actually x0, y0, and this radius is delta. So we are varying actually the independent variable here. That means in that interval we are varying the value of independent variable. Now for that, the function fz, you know that will map each and every point that we are considering here in the w plane. So if they lies in the w plane, this represents actually a circle with center at u0, v0 and radius epsilon. That means if these values lies in that, this kind of circle, so this is u0, v0 and this length is epsilon. Now if delta and epsilon comparable, let's say delta is 1 unit, epsilon is also very small, delta is say 0.001 radius, so epsilon is also say 0.01. That means they are comparable, both are very small. So if for this small interval or more small circle with radius delta 0, delta, if I get a small circle in the w plane with radius epsilon, then here we say that the limit exists, otherwise the limit doesn't exist. Is that clear or not? Have you got it? Because here z minus z0 less than delta. For that, if the functional values lies in that region, then only the limit will exist where delta and epsilon are comparable. Now this represents a circle. This also represents another circle. So this represents a circle in z plane with center x0, y0 and radius delta. And this represents a circle in the w plane with center at u0, v0 and radius as epsilon. Now if delta and epsilon both are small and comparable, then we'll say that the limit exists here. Now let's say delta is 0.001. But while we are varying the values of z here inside the interval, we are getting that the functional values lies in a huge interval. Let's say this is not enclosed within that circle. This is this will lie in a huge interval. That is epsilon is very large. Then we say that the limit doesn't exist here. But if for this small interval, the corresponding functional values of these points are here in a small circle, then only we'll say that the limit exists in that case. Was it okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is at all over here. That means we are varying the value of z here. For that, if the corresponding functional values lies in that kind of circle, inside that circle, then we'll say that the limit exists. Otherwise, the limit doesn't exist. Now, what is the properties of limit? The properties of limit same as the properties of limit we did for function of one variable and function of two variable. That means whenever we are taking the limit for the function fz plus gz at the point z equals to z0, this is same as the limiting value of the respective functions separately, and if we add them, we'll be getting the same value. Then the limiting value for the multiplied function, this will be limiting value of each of the functions, and they will be multiplied. And for the division also, the limiting value of this quotient function will be same as limiting value of the numerator function and limiting value of the denominator function. They will be divided, provided that this limiting value is not equals to 0. So apart from these things, there is only one theorem that you didn't study that we can't define for the function of real variable or function of complex variable. What is that? Say for example, fz is actually uxy plus ivxy. This is the function. So since here both the independent variable and dependent variable have two components, that's why we'll be getting only this criteria for function of complex variable, but we won't be getting this criteria for function of two real variable or function of one real variable. That is only valid for the function of complex variable. What is this criteria? Let's say fz is u and v. So u and v both will be functions of x and y. V2 complex functions is defined in the neighborhood of z0, x0 plus y0, except the point z0. Then this limiting value will exist if, so here uxy and vxy, that means the real part of the function and imaginary part of that function are two functions of two variable, because uxy is a function and vxy is another function of two variable. So if the limiting value of the real part exists and goes to the real part of the limit of the entire function, and the imaginary part has the limit and the limiting value goes to the imaginary value of the limiting value, then only we'll be saying that the limit exists in that case. Otherwise, the limit doesn't exist. Okay, just I'm giving the example separately, then it will be clear. Just let me light over here. So can you see the blank screen? Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So here we are trying to find out the limit for a function of complex variable. Let's say z tends to z0. This is a very important property that we'll be studying over here. Z tends to z0, fz equals to w0. So here z equals to x plus iy, z0 equals to x0 plus iy0, fz equals to w to u plus iv, W0 equals to U0 plus IV0. So if I segregate this in real and imaginary part, we can write this as
Sir, FZ equal to W0 no? Or W only?
Fz equals to W. W0 is the limiting value.
Okay, sir.
That means F of Z0. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
So plus IV0. Now what is the property? Say here U and V, because whenever we are writing down Fz as Z square. So if you segregate, write down Z equals to X plus I, we will be getting X square minus Y square plus I into 2XY. So here both U and V are functions of X and Y. So here we can write that limit XY tends to X0 Y0 U XY plus IV XY, that will be equals to U0 plus IV0. So here U and V both will be functions of X and Y. Okay, is that clear? Is that clear or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now here U and V both are functions of two variable. You forget about the function of complex variable. If I separately take U, so U will be function of two variable, that is X square plus Y square. So what is U here? U is actually X square plus minus Y square, and V separately is a function of two variable, that is 2XY. So here what is the theorem? The theorem tells us that the limit, this limiting value will exist if limit XY tends to X0 Y0 UXY separately equals to U0 and limit. So here, in order to find out the limit for a function of complex variable, you don't need to use any new method. Rather, the method that you have used for the function of two real variable in the first semester, you can use that method to evaluate the limit for a function of complex variable. So this is limit XY tends to X0 Y0 VXY. Let's say this is V0. So if the real part has the limit that goes to the real part of the limiting value, and imaginary part is going to the imaginary part of the limiting value, then by combining that we can say that the limit will exist and limiting value will be this. Is that clear? Is that clear or not? That means the entire function of complex variable has a limit if the real part of the functional value has the real it's converging towards the real part of the limiting value, and imaginary part of that functional value is converging towards the imaginary part of the limiting value, then we can say that the entire function of complex variable has a limit, and this will be actually W0. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now let me give the example. Now can I see the PPT?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so here we need to find out this limit. Let's say limit Z tends to 1 plus I Z square minus 2Z plus 1. We need to show that this value will be minus 1. Okay, so what we will be doing here, we'll be just separating the real and imaginary part of the function. So if you put Z equals to X plus IY, so this will be the real part, that is our UXY, and this will be the imaginary part VXY. So now what will be the limiting value? So here Z equals to 1 plus I. 1 plus I means here Z0 is 1 plus I. So the Z0 has the real part 1 and imaginary part also 1. So here we can write down limit XY tends to 1 1. Then what will be the limiting value of the real part? So since here real part is defined at the point 1 1, so here the functional value at 1 1 and the limiting value will be same. So if you put here X equals to Y and Y equals to Y, so this value will be minus 1. Now what will be the limiting value at the point Z0 for the imaginary part? So the limiting value is 0. So here real part of the function is converging towards the limit minus 1. Imaginary part is converging towards the limit 0. So this will not be minus 0, that will be 0 actually. 0 and minus 0 same. Okay. So what will be the limit of that? So easily we can say that the limit of that will be the real part of the limiting value, the limit of the real part plus I into limit of the imaginary part. So that will be minus 1 plus I into 0. So the limiting value of the entire function will be minus 1. So instead of finding out the limit for the function of complex variable directly, we can segregate the functional value in real and imaginary part. At the given point, we can find out the limit for the real and imaginary part separately. Then by combining the limit of real part and imaginary part, we can get the entire limit for the function of complex variable. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
So that is only possible for function of complex variable. But if I consider the function of two real variable or one real variable, then it's not possible. It is only possible if we consider the function of complex variable, because only for the function of complex variable, this property is there that the independent variable and dependent variable, the number of independent variable is also 2 and number of dependent variable are also 2. So since both are 2 here, that's why only we can use this theorem. And check the limit existence of the limit for limit z tends to z0 z bar by z. So here if we want to check the existence of the limit, I have told in the previous class that we need to in order to check the existence of the limit, just if we follow the path dependence independence method, then if the limiting value is dependent on the path, that means if I take the different path to approach to the point 0, then if we find the limiting values are coming different, then we can say that the limit doesn't exist. Now if we but by the path dependent method, but by the path dependent method we can't check the existence of the limit, rather we can take we can prove the non-existence of the limit. So here z is x plus iy and z bar is x minus iy. So z tends to 0, that means xy tends to 0 0. So we can approach towards the point 0 0 by the straight line y equals to mx, because y equals to mx satisfying the point 0 0. So that means we can approach to the point 0 0 through that path. So this path is valid. Now if the limiting value depends on the path, then we can say that the limit doesn't exist. That means if limiting value depends on m, then it will not be independent of path, so the limit doesn't exist. Otherwise we need to follow another method to show that this limit exists by epsilon delta method. So z bar by z means limit x tends to 0, y tends to 0, x minus iy by x plus iy. Since y equals to mx, if I substitute y in terms of x, so the limiting value will be dependent on x only. So limit x tends to 0, x minus imx by x plus imx. So x will be, we can take common x from numerator and denominator. Since x tends to 0, so x is not equals to 0. Okay, so we can eliminate x from numerator and denominator. So the limiting value will be dependent on this. Now, if I take different path, if I take m equals to 1, the path will be y equals to x. So the limiting value will be 1 minus I by 1 plus I. If we take m equals to 2, the limiting value will be 1 minus 2im by 1 plus 2im. So actually, if I change the path, that means if I change the value of m, the limiting value will be changed. So here limiting value is not independent of path. So that's why here we can say that the limit doesn't exist. So in that way, the same method you can follow that you did in first semester to show the to prove the non-existence or existence of limit for the function of two real variables. In the same manner, we can actually show it here. Was it okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Next, there are two problems. I'll be sharing the PPT in the Google Classroom. So you can solve this. And if you can't solve, you will be asking me and I'll be trying to solve this. Then continuity. So the definition of continuity is same. So continuity means just let me discuss over here. So what is the continuity? Continuity means, so just I'm discussing for function of one variable. So continuous means we can draw the graph without any break. So say this is z, say x equals to x0. So we are taking an interval, then we are approaching from this side, we are approaching from this side. So while we are approaching from this side, we can approximate this value. So we can actually fill up the gap. So if this limiting value, that means left hand limit equals to right hand limit, we say that limit exists. But limit exists means we are approaching approximately from this direction, we are approaching approximately from this direction, but they are not coinciding. Because they are coinciding means we are getting the functional values, but we are not getting the functional values directly. That's why we are finding out the limit. So we can approximately say that this can be the value, but they are not merging. So this limiting value will be this gap can be filled up if this is continuous. So for that, at the point x0, the functional value should be this. Now if this functional value is equals to the limiting value, that means if this is f of x0, then we can say that the function is continuous. That means by taking limit, we are actually approximating the functional value from this end and from this end. If this equals to the functional value at this given point, then we say that the function is continuous. Then we can fill up this gap. So similarly here also, if limit z tends to z0, fz, this limiting value same as f of z0, then we say that the function is continuous. Otherwise, the function is not continuous. So the limiting value should be equals to the functional value. Then the properties of function means if fz and gz are two functions which are continuous at the point z0, then sum of two functions and subtraction of two functions are also continuous. The product of two functions is also continuous. Product of two functions are also continuous, and the quotient of two functions are also continuous, provided that g of z0 is not equals to 0. And their composition, you know the composition of two functions f gz. So this will be continuous if gz is continuous. Sorry, f is continuous at the point gz0 and gz is continuous at the point z0. So have you understood this, or I need to elaborate it? Should I need to elaborate it, or you have understood this limit for the composition of two functions?
Understood, sir.
Okay. And here also the same property. That means since the function of complex variable can be segregated in two parts, real and imaginary part, so this will be continuous at the point z0, that is x0 plus iy0. If the real part is separately continuous at this point x0 y0, and imaginary part is separately continuous at this point. That means if real part of the function and imaginary part of the function both are continuous separately at the given point, then we can say that as a whole the function is continuous at the point fz. So here we need to show that this function is continuous for all z outside mod z equals to 2. So outside mod z equals 2 means we are considering a circle with center z00 and radius as 2 unit. So how we can check whether this is continuous or not? So this will be continuous if this is defined. So first we need to check whether it is defined or not for all the points inside that given circle or not. So it will be defined if the numerator is not equals to 0. So the numerator is becoming 0 at the point, this will be 3z actually, at the point 2 and 1. So this 2 and 1 is inside this circle. So that's why this function will be continuous outside that circle. So this numerator function is continuous outside that circle. This denominator function is discontinuous only at 2 and 1. But 2 and 1 is inside that circle. So the problem in continuity will happen inside the circle. But outside that circle, at all these points, this function is defined. So it will be continuous. Was it clear? Is that clear or not?
So once more, please.
Okay. Just let me write it. So the function, what is given? Function is given as z square plus 1 by z square minus 3z plus 1. Okay, so this can be written in the form of cosine function psi z by, let's say, phi z. So what is the property for continuity of the cosine function? The cosine function will be continuous if this is continuous at the point z equals to z0, and if this is continuous at z equals to z0. Moreover, phi of z0 should not be equals to 0. This is the criteria. So the given region is given as mod z equals to 2. Mod z equals to 2 means the center is at 0, 0, and radius is 2 unit. That means this is 2 unit, this is 2 unit, this circle. So this is continuous everywhere. So this function will not be continuous if the denominator is not defined. So denominator is not defined means the z square minus 3z plus 1 is not defined. So this will not define if this is 0. So that means z equals to 2 and 1. So 2 is the point on this circle, 2, 0. Z equals to 2 means key. Real part is 2, imaginary part is 0. So 2, 0. And z equals to 1 means the real part is 1, imaginary part is 0. So 1, 0. So except these 2 points, at all other points this function is defined. So this will be continuous. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
So if I exclude these 2 points, then at all other points this cosine function will be continuous. So it is given in the problem that we need to show that this function is continuous outside that circle. So since these 2 points are inside that circle, so at outside that circle, at all other points, this function must be continuous. That we need to show. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Oh. Okay, so the differentiability part I'll be discussing in the next class. Then I'll be discussing the Cauchy-Riemann equation and how to check whether a function is analytic or not. So today let me take your attendance. Okay, AML roll number 1,
Present, sir.
2,
Present, sir.
3,
Present, sir.
4,
Present, sir.
5,
Present, sir.
6,
Yes, sir.
7,
Present, sir.
8,
Present, sir.
9,
Present, sir.
10,
Yes, sir.
11,
Present, sir.
12,
Yes, sir.
13. Gaurav, 13, 14,
Present, sir.
15,
Present, sir.
16,
Present, sir.
17,
Yes, sir.
All
18.
13 present, sir. All 13 present.
18,
Yes, sir.
19,
Present, sir.
13 given. Okay, 13 given. 19, 20, 21,
Present, sir.
22,
Present, sir.
23, 24, 25, 26, 27,
Present, sir.
28.
26, sir.
Yes, sir. Roll 28.
Okay, 26, 28 given. 29, 30, 31,
Present, sir.
32,
Present, sir.
33,
Present, sir.
34, 35,
Present, sir.
36,
Present, sir.
37,
Present, sir.
38,
Present, sir.
9,
Present, sir.
40, 41,
Present, sir.
42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49,
Present, sir.
50,
Present,
Sir,
sir.
roll 40 present, sir. Sir, 49 present.
Sir, all 23 AIML present, sir.
Sir, roll 45 present.
AIML present.
Given.
Sir,
Sir, all 50.
AIML present.
Roll 42. Sir, roll
What?
49 present.
40.
Sir,
49. 43 present.
Sir, all 23 also.
23 given.
sir, all 50, sir.
Sir,
Given.
roll 45.
45 given. Whatever I have.
44.
47, sir. All.
Sir, roll 42 present. AIML.
Okay. Then CSB is roll number 1.
Roll 48 present, sir. AIML.
Given.
Sir, 49.
49 given. CSB is 1.
Sir, 40.
CSB is 2.
Present, sir.
3. CSB is roll number 3.
Yes, sir. Present.
4.
Present, sir.
5.
Present, sir.
6.
Present, sir.
7. 8.
Present, sir.
9. 10.
Present, sir.
11.
Yes, sir.
12.
Present, sir.
13.
Present, sir.
14.
Present, sir.
15.
Present, sir.
16.
Present, sir.
17.
Present, sir.
18.
Present, sir.
19. 20.
Present, sir.
21.
Present, sir.
22.
Present, sir.
23.
Present, sir.
24.
Yes, sir.
25.
Present.
26. 27. 28.
Sir, 27 present.
Sir, 28 present, sir.
Okay, 27, 28 given. 29.
Present, sir.
30.
Present, sir.
31.
Present, sir.
32.
Present, sir.
33.
Present, sir.
34.
Present, sir.
35.
Present, sir.
36.
Present, sir.
37.
Present, sir.
38.
Present, sir.
39.
Yes, sir.
40.
Present, sir.
41.
Present, sir.
42.
Yes, sir.
43.
Present, sir.
44.
Sir.
45.
Present, sir.
46.
Present, sir.
47.
Present, sir.
48.
Present, sir.
49. 50.
Present, sir.
51.
Present, sir.
52.
Present, sir.
Okay, let me share the exam codes. Just wait, I'm sharing it. So these are the exam code and this is the link. Just click the link and give your full enrollment number and exam code and give the class test. So just someone please check and let me know whether you can access it right now or not. One from CSBS and one from AIML, just check and let me know.
Yes, sir. I am working.
Okay.
Sir, for CSBS, it is working.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Rita. Okay, thank you all for attending today's class. So wishing you a good day. Thank you all. I'm leaving.